Minimum wage. AGF tackles labor as National Assembly fails to stop strike. AGF tackles labor as National Assembly fails to stop strike. The Attorney General of the Federation is starting today. Fagbemi, in a letter to the Nigerian Labour Congress and the Trade Union Congress leaders dated June 1st, 2024, insisted that the structure in the unions from grounding the leaders on Sunday night failed to achieve its objective following the NLC and TUC's insistence on going ahead with today's strike. And the speaker and his TUC counterpart, Festus Osifo. You find the rest of the story on the Punch newspaper this morning with the headline, Minimum Wage. AGF tackles labor as National Assembly fails to stop strike. NDLEA arrests 70-year-old grandpa, seizes 2.1 billion naira codeine, loud consignment. NDLEA arrests 70-year-old grandpa, seizes 2.1 billion naira codeine, loud consignment. We see on the top news on the Punch newspaper, toxicology. Mohbad's father weeps over U.S. lab denial, demands answers. Mohbad's father weeps over U.S. lab denial, demands answers. Inflation dropping, economy heading in right direction. Finance Minister, economy heading in right direction. Orosai report implementation not abandoned. Federal government. 24,535 candidates to retake UCME June 22, says JAM. An ex-worker accomplice killed Lagos businessman, steal 3.2 million naira. And yes, we'll see the stories on the Punch newspaper. And lastly as well, we'll see that CBN clears $831 million foreign airlines trapped funds. CBN TA. You find the stories on the Punch newspaper as we take a look at Vanguard newspaper with a cover page. Minimum wage, fuel, health, schools, courts, banks, others to be grounded as strike begins today. Fuel, health, schools, courts, banks, others to be grounded as strike begins today. Full distribution, health, bank and other essential services nationwide will be shut from today as organized labor begins an indefinite strike over minimum wage and the recent hike in electricity tariff. But the federal government, in a swift reaction yesterday, warned the NLC and the Trade Union Congress to shelve the proposed indefinite strike, saying it was premature and illegal. And this is even as the Senate President, Godswill Akpabio, Speaker of the House of Representatives, Tajuddin Abbas, Secretary to Government of the Federation, SGF George Akume, among others, last night failed in their effort to stop the proposed strike after a marathon meeting with NLC President Joe Ajaero and his CUC counterpart, Festus Osifo. You find the rest of the story for this particular headline on the Vanguard newspaper this morning. We'll also take a look at other stories here that says Nigeria's minimum wage in numbers from 125 naira in 1981 for apprehension as FG borrows 20.1 trillion naira under Tinubu. Apprehension as FG borrows 20.1 trillion naira under Tinubu. Here it says that with two riders, it says borrowing rises 117% year on year. Analysts list impact on inflation, businesses, interest rates. The federal government borrowed 20.1 trillion naira from domestic investors in the first increase of 117%, including likely additional pressure on inflation, increased debt service costs, and higher borrowing costs. High inflationary trend in the country, which may lead to further interest rate hikes by the Central Bank of Nigeria and, by extension, increased costs of borrowing for businesses and individuals. Well, it says here that the problem with Tinubu's misfiring leadership, I believe this is an editorial from Akilas Indigene, says we won't be part of Western region. Regionalism, we won't be part of Western region. Lagos Indigenes. Nigeria slowly sliding into total collapse. Anglican Bishop. Nigeria totally sliding into total collapse. Anglican Bishop. It says here that Bishop is gradually sliding into a total collapse, and the government appears to have lost every idea on how to stop the slide. The alarm was part of the 77-page presidential address he delivered weekend during the first session of the 6th Synod of the Diocese, held at St. Bartholomew's Anglican Church, Nempe, Oru West Local Council area of Imo State. His words, and I quote, "The nation, Nigeria, is gradually sliding into a total collapse. The present government seems to have lost every idea on how to stop this downward slide and revamp the economy. Everything now looks like trial and error, or even makers seem to be aimed at harming the people more." There are so many other things he said, but because of time, you should get a copy of Vanguard newspaper and look out for the story with the headline, "Nigeria slowly sliding into total collapse, Anglican Bishop." And I will take a look at more stories here on Vanguard. It says that I inherited 80% infrastructural deficit from last administration at Deleke. I inherited 80% infrastructural deficit from last administration at Deleke. Okay, that's that on the Vanguard newspaper this morning. And now we move on to Daily Trust newspaper with the cover page, "Minimum wage strike begins as National Assembly's intervention fails." Strike begins as National Assembly's intervention fails. Now we'd also see that how Governor Fertilizer orders to constituents. Kwara Senator distributes fertilizer orders to constituents. Ondo Governor asks Discos to stop estimated billing, provide meters. Ondo Governor asks Disco to stop estimated billing, provide meters. Cybersecurity firm urges Nigerians to guide their data online. Firm urges NAVMI has called on Nigerians to guide their data from cyber criminals by ensuring healthy online practices. Mr. Victor Matthias, the head of sales CF Host, who made the call in Abuja at a media briefing, said that there was need to engage the internet wisely, generate income from it while having a personal internet experience and data protection. He noted that social media platforms had great impacts on digital marketing, creating visibility for online businesses, but had its limitations. And according to him, most social media platforms accessible to Nigerians were internet spaces owned by other individuals today. And lastly, we'd also see here that Hajj, why South Arabia introduced ID cards for pilgrims. Why South Arabia introduced ID cards for pilgrims. On Leadership newspaper today, 3rd June 2024, as we've seen from other cover pages of other papers, it also says minimum wage project, new Ilori master plan, CNG station. Would also see that INEC unveils book to enhance Edo Guba, Yakubu meets parties, assures on credible poll. Edo Guba, Yakubu meets parties, assures on credible poll. Ijaw Congress charges professionals on political participation. And that's that on the Leadership. And now on this day newspaper, it reads on the cover page, Zenith Bank named most sustainable bank in Nigeria in the International Banker Awards 2024. Zenith Bank PLC has been named the most sustainable bank in Nigeria in the International Banker 2024 Banking Awards, retaining the title for the second consecutive year. And now, Lukbubiri federal government will continue to rely on PTI for manpower development in oil sector. PTD invites Labour Ministry DSS to conduct its National Delegates Conference. PTD invites Labour Ministry DSS to conduct its National Delegates Conference. Girego Siemens partnered to raise Nigerian firms' overall power generation capacity to 1,200 megawatts. We'll also see here on this day, Wale Edu, economic stabilization package underway to support business. Financial sector will witness more Islamic banking, says Central Bank of Nigeria. Financial sector will witness more Islamic banking, says Central Bank of Nigeria. They've revealed that the financial sector will witness more Islamic banking. Mr. Olayemi Cardoso, the CBN governor, disclosed this yesterday in Abuja at a reception in honor of the Secretary General, Organization of Islamic Cooperation Arbitration Center, Dr. Umar Hosseini, organized by his mentees. He explained that Olayemi Cardoso, the CBN governor, explained that when the idea of Islamic banking was first mooted, naysayers thought it was an attempt to Islamize the country or the financial sector. There's more to that story. You can get your hands on a copy of this day newspaper. Gencos urged federal government to offset 3.5 trillion naira owed them, says debt inhibiting operations. Gencos urged federal government to offset 3.5 trillion naira owed them, say debt inhibiting operations. And that's that on this day. We'll take a look at Nation newspaper before we go on a very quick break. It says here on the cover page, why labor strike is illegal by federal government. Why labor strike is illegal by federal government. Also, it comes with a rider that says the AGF Rights NLC TUC. Second rider says school proprietors Bishop Khan Oweri, others caution against action. The federal government has described as premature, ineffectual and illegal labor strike call over the new minimum wage which begins today. It also said there is a subsisting court order precluding labor from embarking on strike which is yet to be vacated. And Fagbemi, in a letter yesterday to the two labor centers, the Nigerian Labour Congress and TUC, pointed out that the unions did not take recourse to conciliation, mediation, and voluntary arbitration procedures as outlined by the ILO before declaring the strike. You find that on the Nation newspaper. Fubara says we will remain eternally grateful to Wike, says Rivers Ijo. Edu, government economic reforms yielding positive results. Food preservation sniper remains banned. NAFDAC warns. Food preservation sniper remains banned. NAFDAC warns. 20,531 Nigerians benefit from Social Security cover in 1 year. And lastly, we see here, court dismisses senator's objection to ex-governor's suit. Court dismisses senator's objection to ex-governor's suit. It says here that the High Court of the Federal Capital Territory, Abuja, has dismissed a preliminary objection by Senator Ita Enang to the defamation suit filed against him by the immediate past Akwa Ibom Governor Udom Emmanuel. Udom, through his attorney Ekeret Udo, sued Enang in 2019 for an allegedly defamatory statement made against him on a radio in Lagos. And these are the stories we're taking a look at this morning. In the meantime, let's go on a very quick break, and when we're back here, we will take the stories and also get the input of our in-house analyst, Mr. Salman Salami. And now to our listener out there, we encourage that you call in, let us hear your takes, especially with the strike that's happening. I'm sure a lot of people are at home this morning, so you're definitely listening to 0818 2222205 or 0903 2229797. And that's all this morning. Just stay tuned while we go on a very quick break. Many thanks for staying tuned. Welcome back to Citizen 93.7 FM. We're taking a look at the newspaper stories this morning. Headline stories from across the national dailies. We're taking a look at the Punch newspaper, the Vanguard newspaper, Daily Trust, Leadership, This Day, Nation. And now we'll be reviewing the papers alongside our in-house analyst, Mr. Salman Salami. Good morning, sir.
Very good morning to you.
All right. So our listener out there would like to hear from you. You can call us on 0818-2222205, or you can also join our live streaming on YouTube at Citizen FM 93.7. And you can also reach us on a second number, which is 0903 2229797. And now this morning we're going to take a look at a particular story recurring across the dailies, and that is in regards to the minimum wage and the labor strike. It says here on the Punch newspaper that minimum wage, AGF tackles labor as National Assembly fails to stop the strike. And also would find a similar story on the Vanguard that says minimum wage, fuel, health, schools, courts, banks, others to be grounded as strike begins today. Mr. Salami, what is your own perception and your take on this?
Very good morning to you, our Super Citizen listeners. This is a particularly sad day for the country. Very sad in the sense that the federal government failed to stop the NLC, TUC, and indeed the organized labor from embarking on a nationwide strike. Strike cannot, by any stretch of imagination, be considered as a good thing for any nation or any economy. But and the TUC and indeed the organized labor had given the federal government a notice that they will go on strike if the issue surrounding the minimum wage was not resolved by the 31st of May. The federal government slept off until it was too late. And, as usual, the fire brigade approach to solving problems. The federal government deterred so much and so long that it was too late in the day to stop the strike. Up to 12 midnight yesterday, the Senate President and the Speaker to stop the strike. Of course they couldn't, because the organized labor told them in no unclear terms that they didn't have, or they don't have, the power to stop the strike, that they would rather report back to their respective unions, because it was a collective decision. What are the take-homes from all this? What are the lessons? We have said it times and times over that strike, unless it becomes inevitable, is not in the best interest of any nation, any country, or any economy, especially our own very fragile economy. Let's look at it from this angle. There are quite many Nigerians that if they do not go out a day, feeding becomes difficult. That is, quite many Nigerians eke out a living on a daily basis. What do they do? Where do they go from here? Did NLC factor them into their consideration? This is not an indictment of the NLC decision or the decision of the organized labor. We are just pointing out some salient and unintended consequences of the strike action. The federal government has come out to say it is cover them. Well, it's neither here nor there. But what a remedy. With all the parties involved, both the federal government and the organized labor, that please and please go back to the table, drawing board. Go to the table and talk. Why? Jojo is better than war. It is an ill wind, which at the end of the day will not blow anybody any good. Let the national interest supersede and take the lead.
All right, thank you very much, Mr. Salami, for that. Talking about a very fragile economy, it says here that apprehension as federal government borrows 20.1 trillion naira under Tinubu, and then it comes with two riders. It says borrowing rises 117% year on year, and analysts list impacts on inflation, businesses, and interest rates. Mr. Salami, without going further into the story, what is your perception to this particular
Debt Management Office to our studio to come and enlighten our people or educate Nigerians on the position of our debt, the position of our debt, how much do we owe, and precisely how much are we using to service the national debt. From our own layman's point of view as regards finance or financial issues, borrowing in itself and by itself is not necessarily bad. What to me is more important is you are borrowing to do what? What are you using the money for? Truth be told, the amount of money that has been borrowed by this country can never in any way be said to have reflected in a good life, welfare and well-being of the people. There is a need for the government to be very circumspect. Borrowing there is the need for you to borrow, and if you borrow to make some infrastructure available or to fund assets and not liabilities. But generally speaking, He who goes a borrowing goes a sorrowing. There is no way we can encourage borrowing unless it becomes inevitable, and the borrowed money should be used for specific purposes that will enhance the welfare and well-being of the people. Let me repeat it. Whoever goes a borrowing goes a sorrowing.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Salami, for that. Still talking about the financial sector, it says here on this day newspaper that financial sector will witness more Islamic banking, says the Central Bank of Nigeria. And then most people did not know that the first person who spearheaded the banking was first muted. Mr. Salami, what do you think of the story?
That let us look at issues from a rational and not emotional perspective. Quite many people do not know anything about Islamic banking. Have, as usual, offered ignorance as reasons. Not too many. Most of the customers of Taj Bank are Christians. This I can offer for free because no interest is charged. Look at the Sukuk fund. Look at the roads that are being constructed. The Taj Bank, or is it the Jaiz Bank, offered to rebuild the burnt Jos International Market. As usual, the soothsayers came calling. And of course, bandy ignorance that is a way of giving the Muslims the international knowledge. And I have been saying, if there is anything so-called, but the truth is this: it is neither Islamic banking or Christian banking, but what is good for our people and how much benefit will our people get by banking their needs. It is Nigerians, it is we Nigerians who can make this country work, and we just cannot unless we have a change of our mindset. I keep on asking the question: those who put Nigeria on our knees are either David or Abdullahi. If they are not Solomon, they are Sulaiman. Where was the Bible? And where was the Quran while they were stealing? The issue should not be the religion you profess, but the way you act. Of what use is a Solomon or Abdullahi who stole billions of our money? Did any of such shall not steal? Where was the Bible? Where was the Quran while they were stealing? It is sheer hypocrisy and unabashed bigotry. It's unacceptable. And bad things like stealing our common patrimony, regardless of the name they call themselves, they are what they should be called: criminals.
Thank you very much for your take on that. So listener out there, if you'd like to join the conversation this morning, the number to call is 0818-222-22205, 0818-222-22205, or 0903-222-99797, 0903-222-997. And now we have a caller this morning. Hello, good morning.
Oh, good morning, Chief.
Good morning. What's your name and your take on the story?
My take is that my regard to your guest, Mr. Salami, for addressing the nation and also uniting us and creating a very good understanding to those ignorant to be not to be, because our problem is just an ignorance. So thank you, Mr. Salami. I appreciate it. I think my take is that in order to stay on their side, let me go.
Hello, Mr. Chibike. Okay, we just missed that call. Could you please 2229797, 0903-2229797, or 0818-222-22205. And now Well, we're expecting calls from our listener. Would also take a story where it says that this was said by the Anglican bishop. It says that Nigeria is slowly sliding into total collapse. Nigeria slowly sliding into total collapse. Mr. Salami, so what is your thing? But before you take your, before you give your perception, let's take a call again. Hello?
Thank you, Mr.
Okay.
I think his network error. Thank you. I'm back. This is Chicken Band again.
Okay, no problem. Please go ahead.
Please, my take on that, the address is that the labor should stay here. Let them come to Nigeria again. Let them stay. The government will listen to the cry. After all, we look at the country whereby somebody is earning billions of naira, teachers are earning 10 kobo. Hospital workers are earning 50 naira. They can't feed their family. They can't take care of their family. Let me never address this issue once and for all. That is my take. And the issue of the other side of listening to
Yes, I'll call again. Let's take another call from one of our listeners again. Hello, good morning.
Hello, good morning.
Good morning, sir. What's your name and where are you calling from?
My name is Yomi. I'm calling from Gariki.
Okay, good morning, Mr. Yemi. Please go ahead. What's your take on the stories?
But my own on this of this the strike issue is that when Labour now they are saying banks should join, but when they pay federal government pay 4.15, are they is banks ready to pay the security man that is there? Do you know as that now some people are still working in the bank, they are collecting 22,000, 28,000 naira as a security as a cleaner. And now this issue of the strike, I don't understand why the federal is negotiating, but some states, Sanfara was saying last year that they are going to pay 30,000 naira. They will start committing to 30,000 naira. Where was Labour? Did they go on strike then? Is it everybody? Is it the payment, the wages, is it on concurrence? Each state pay what you want to pay. Now, this state pays that, but what of the state?
Okay. Thank you very much, Mr. Yemi from Gariki. We do appreciate your perception to the story about the strike. Mr. Salami, sir, would you like to retreat on what the caller said?
Yes, what they have said is right. Right in the sense that if truly we are practicing what I call true federalism, the federal government is at liberty to agree on what it will pay its workers. Ditto the federating states. For example, as we speak, the minimum wage that was due for review was 30,000. Quite some states are still not paying 30,000. Now we are saying that it should be 419,000, and the federal government is saying yes, they will pay 60,000, and we are still on it. Let's come to look at it. The states should be allowed to negotiate with their respective workers and agree on what they just can pay. That is the meaning of federalism. Even if the federal government says yes, we are paying, we want the NLC to ponder over. But then we must give kudos to NLC for being in the vanguard of protecting the interests of the workers. Truth be told, the minimum wage as it is today is not a living wage. It can't take them home. What the NLC is doing, but at that, let the federal government, the state government, and the state, and the NLC, the organized labor, let them come together to the round table. Let them discuss and have robust conversation around this knotty issue. Why are we saying that? When two elephants fight, it's always the grass that suffers. I repeat it. Jojo is better than war.
Okay, thank you very much, Mr. Salami, for tracing of that. And, earlier I had, mentioned a collapse, and with little time on our side.
For the Anglican bishop to say what he said, that is his opinion. I know that about it, that the way it should with the country, no doubt about that. There is hardship, untold hardship, People are suffering, no doubt about that. There's insecurity in the land, no doubt about that. There's hunger too in the land. We cannot pretend. But to now, because of that, say that we should speak, if we like, speak good words about the country. It's well with our country.
Amen, amen, and amen. Thank you very much, Mr. Salami. As we said, we are all one Nigerian. We don't look at religion, we don't look at tribe. It is one Nigeria, one nation. And that's how we're Dariki. Thank you very much for calling in. I'm sure the federal government definitely took note of your take. And I need to be back here at 7 a.m. to
You've been here.
Okay, hello to everyone out there. Happy New Month and have a wonderful Monday.